In this video, we're going to talk about 5 things you need to know if you're in a CHINS case in Indiana. About me, my name's Nathan Vining. I deal with CHINS cases in Indiana and can help answer questions for you about your case and give you advice on what you should do if you're involved in a CHINS case. So the first thing is understanding CHINS. What is a CHINS case? If you're watching this video, you likely know, but essentially it is where the state is alleging that there is something going on in your family unit that causes them to investigate, and they have concerns that the child is in some kind of need of services. Typically, they're alleging that there's some kind of abuse or neglect in the home, and that they ultimately want to provide services to make sure that the home is a safe environment so they can monitor the family and make sure everything's good going forward. So that's what a CHINS case is. And if you're in one of the biggest issues is a lot of times they may try and remove your child at the start of the case. If they believe that there is some kind of issue going on where the child is in danger, they will go and attempt to remove the child. So the first thing to know if you are facing removal is that they do have to have a removal hearing. They have to have that within 2 business days of the removal. And with that, the DCS office presents evidence as to why they believe removal is necessary. And you can then present evidence as to why DCS got it wrong. A lot of times you have to act quick because there's only 2 business days. So you want to secure counsel and see what you can do to fight the removal. Another big thing to do immediately is if they do remove, you may not agree with it, but make sure you know who you want the child placed with and make sure that the DCS case manager has this information. Because a lot of times they're going to need to do background checks, investigate the home. So it's going to take a second to get the child with who you want them with. So you want to make sure that DCS has this information, and they start investigating the preferred placement immediately. So you can get your child with at least a preferred placement if they're not with you. But you also want to get an attorney and seek help so you can fight that removal. So hopefully that's not even necessary. The second thing to do is understand that there are steps in the CHINS process. It's a set process. And one of the biggest things is you have a right to a fact finding within 60 days. That fact finding is what they call a trial. It's where you present evidence as to whether or not the child is in need of services, and the state presents evidence as to why they believe the child is in need of services. It's important to know the process because 60 days is actually pretty quick in the trial world. So you need to hire an attorney so you can work and prepare for that fact finding so you can understand exactly what DCS is alleging. Then you got to build your case around why they got it wrong or why there are no services necessary for your family. The third thing is that there's actually a lot of things you can do to help resolve a case quickly. DCS, a lot of times if they're involved with your family, they're going to want to see you do certain kinds of services. A lot of times you can strategically do those services before a fact finding to help remedy the reason why DCS is there. And a lot of times I tell people this, they don't know you. Sometimes you got to let them know a little bit so they can get to know you and then back off a little bit. That's the goal with these cases, is to strategically give them a little, also while cooperating, so that way you can work with DCS to maybe show that there's no issues in your home and that they can back down even before a fact finding. But you can also challenge the evidence. So you're going to want to understand what the allegations are, and then you're going to want to also document everything in the case. You're going to want to maintain a record in terms of who you've talked to. If the case manager said they were going to do something, take a note as to what they were going to do and when they were going to do it by. So that way you can hold them accountable to the things they say they're going to do. Because there's a lot of people involved in the case, and a lot of times I think it gets to be like a game of telephone where one person says something, but there's no follow through. So you want to keep documentation so you can ensure there's follow through. And then also a lot of times DCS shows up at court. They have a bunch of cases, and they may start presenting things incorrectly in your case. And you want to have your documentation to rely on to say that DCS has it wrong here, which hopefully they don't, but a lot of times they do. So you want to have records to show your story, because your story is what's important here. The fourth issue you might encounter is that there's just a lot of issues with the DCS process itself. For instance, they may be investigating false allegations. Your kid could have been removed off a false allegation. There could be issues with placement in terms of getting your child placed with the correct person. A lot of times DCS may not have done as thorough of investigation as you want, and they left witnesses out. You need to go and get those witnesses and bring them to the fact finding so they can help tell your story in a different way, convince the judge that your children are not children in need of services. Another issue is that there's oftentimes issues with services being referred. DCS may want you to do something, but they actually never get the referral in place. And then you need that thing to get to the next step in parenting. For instance, they want to see that you're clean and sober and have done a drug screen before they place the children with you. They refer it and it never happens, and you're stuck in this game of limbo. You want to hold DCS accountable as to what services they say they're going to provide and make sure those are in place. But you're also going to want to talk to an attorney to make sure those services are necessary and something you should do in the first place. So if you're involved in a DCS case, document everything, seek legal help, get all the records in your case, know who the case manager is, who the DCS attorney is, who the guardian ad litem is. You need to know who the players are. So when you retain somebody, they can move quick. You're also going to want to get records. A lot of times they're a little cagey with information. You want to make sure that you have every document in the case file so that way you can take that and use that to get help. So if you have questions, give me a call. I deal with DCS cases, but I'd be happy to review your situation and talk to you about what you can do in your case.